Hello, my Pantry Challenge peeps. I am super excited to share with you how week 3 went. Today we're going to talk about the meals that I actually made throughout the week, lessons learned, and how much I spent. So let's get right to it. My week begins on Saturday. So this is January the 14th through the 20th, accountability confession time. And what I made, what I spent, and lessons learned. So let's talk about Saturday. It was a cold evening here in North Florida. And so one of my favorite childhood memories is that my dad made breakfast for dinner on cold nights. So what I did, and I'll pop this picture up here, we had pecan waffles. It was a waffle mix that I had in my pantry, and we had some pecans, so I added that to the batter. And then we also had some sausage. Now what I did is I made extras of each of these waffles and sausage so that I could have them throughout the week for breakfast, and it worked out perfectly. Then on Sunday, I made those air fryer pork chops that I made previously. We had some leftover mac and cheese and also a salad with my homemade croutons and Thousand Island dressing. And so my husband has said that this is his preferred way to have pork chops. It tastes better than being on the grill. It tastes better than having oven-baked pork chops. He really prefers to have it in the air fryer. So he has requested from this point on to always have them there. So we are learning that as well. Then on Monday, I thought that this is gonna be just a fabulous day. I was excited because I had a lot of time during the day to really think through making things from scratch. And so I pulled out this frozen lasagna that I had made and put together back in November. And so I used those no-bake, well, they're the noodles you don't have to, cook, is what I'm trying to say, cook before you put them in the lasagna. And so I had made that. Everything that I read said you didn't have to cook the lasagna prior to freezing it. But when I defrosted it and then actually baked it, my husband had to work late. I took the first bite because it was now like 9:30, 9:45, and I was starving. Really looking forward to one of my favorite meals, and it had this weird taste to it. It looks good in the picture, but it did not taste good. It wasn't freezer burnt. The meat was still good. I think it was the noodles. They absorbed all of the liquid and just tasted and smelled really gross. I really can't even describe a smell to accurately tell you what it smelled like. So I quickly threw that away. I had also made a homemade French loaf bread, which I will link that recipe down below. If you have never made bread before, this is the bread recipe to start with. This is what I did back in 2020 when I was committed to learning how to make bread and use yeast properly. This was it's really fail-proof. But what I did is I added some of my fresh basil from my garden that I had dehydrated last summer, and it worked out beautifully. So that lasagna turned me off from eating. I did not want to eat anything else. But what I did is I took out some ravioli for my husband and made him some of that so he could enjoy a salad and also the French loaf bread as well. Now Tuesday was a very intense work day. We had a working lunch at my job. They ordered in food. I had a nice large shrimp salad, which was very good. And so when I came home Tuesday night, I was not hungry. I was content. My husband had to work again late Tuesday night. And so when he came back, I was already in bed for the night. He came home really, really late from work. And so he fended for himself. So I did not have to cook Tuesday. Wednesday is our church night, and I make our dinner for the children at church, and they had a little bit extra leftovers. And so my husband and I enjoyed that with them at church. And so that was a no cook night at home, at least for me. So this particular week, there are 3 days that I'm not using Pantry. So that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday's our date night, as I've mentioned before. But Thursday, we had these delicious chicken wings. I had some of that stovetop stuffing mix in my pantry that I had purchased around Thanksgiving or Christmas. It was buy one, get one. And then we had a fresh salad with those croutons and Thousand Island dressing. So this week, I was not frustrated like week 2. Week 2, I was very frustrated. But this week, my word that I would describe the entire week would be thankful. I learned a lot of lessons this week. One of those lessons that I learned is that, I am really blessed by having things in my pantry, things in my freezer, and things in my refrigerator. Because I can remember back in 2020, when my pantry, freezer, and refrigerator, it didn't have a whole lot in it. And we all know why. The world shut down. And so I'm really, really thankful that I have food that I can prepare. It's all a mindset shift for me this week. Secondly, I was more mindful of things. For example, the fresh basil that I dehydrated this past summer, I am using a lot of. Now, we had moved in this house late in the planting season, so I wasn't able to really get my garden going and growing very much. So I only purchased just a few herb plants and one bell pepper plant, just to kind of get used to my new surroundings. And my basil plant did quite well. So a lesson learned for this week is that I'm going to purchase 2 of those transplants this year so that I can dehydrate more of it and have more of it to use in the off season. Because I do have basil from the store, but those of you that know that fresh dehydrated basil has so much more punch and flavor than the stuff that you buy at the store. So I've written that down. I have planned what I want to grow in my garden, have put it in my calendar. And then also what I did is that another lesson learned is I really began to calculate things that I use on a monthly basis. For example, spaghetti sauce. We use about 1 of those jars a month to make spaghetti. We use pizza sauce maybe once every 6 to 8 weeks. And so I began those calculations of things that we use quite regularly because this year I want to learn how to can. And I purchased this book here from Amazon. I will list it down below. It is the latest technology on proper boiling temperatures, etc. So a lot of people who are quite skilled at canning suggested this book to me. And I went through while I was getting a pedicure one day and I made a list of things that I use. So I know how many jars of spaghetti I typically use. So we use about 1 a month. So I need to can 12 of those. I made a list of the things in that book that you would put in that spaghetti sauce so that I could begin growing that and began transferring those transplant dates into my calendar so I know when to plant those in my container garden to see if I can really help get fresher items in my pantry. So we'll see. But the great thing about this is another lesson learned. I was really kind of nervous telling people in my church that I was doing this, because I wasn't sure, you never know how people are going to take it. They might think that you're just an extreme survivalist, and I'm not. I'm just trying to have fresher ingredients. And I found out that so many people also do the same thing. And so they were telling me different places to go and purchase fresh products if I'm not able to grow all that I need to in my container garden. So that was just a great way to strengthen friendships and relationships. And maybe we'll go to those farmers markets together and be able to purchase some of those fresh items. So also a lesson learned is that my husband is still commenting on more creative meals. He's like, this is so good. We haven't had this. We need to do this more often. And so again, for the third week in a row, it just has really punctuated that I need to really get out of that rut. And maybe after this first month of doing this, I will get out of the rut and think more creatively, more purposefully in my meals and trying something different so we're not eating the same thing week after week after week. Another thing that I learned is that what I thought was a good thing with my freezer meal ended up being a fail, but a learning lesson, because now I know I need to research more about freezer meals. So if you know more about this subject, comment below or follow me on Instagram. Here's my handle. Let me know what tools you have used that really help you know how to do freezer meals well, especially those casseroles. Do you bake them before you freeze them, or do you not? Or does it depend on what you're doing? I need help. So that's a lesson learned as well. Also, I'm thinking about the word grateful. This week, some people in our church gifted us with some amazing fruit. And so here you'll see that I was able to get some fresh pink grapefruit before a deep freeze that we had, and they were picking them off their grapefruit tree, and I was able to get 2.5 cups of grapefruit juice that I put in my freezer. And then someone else came in on Wednesday night of this week and had picked a lot of their oranges from their orange trees, and you'll see that here. And I was able to get another 2 cups of orange juice, 4 cups. I had to rethink, 4 cups of orange juice, and I put that in my freezer to be able to enjoy either the thaw and enjoy it, drinking it as a breakfast beverage, or using it to make, kind of an orange cake, which I've done before. It's really, really good. So those are some lessons learned. Okay, now let's get into how much I spent. Are you ready? Nothing. I didn't go to the grocery store all week. I didn't have to. I had everything that I needed in my pantry, my freezer, and my refrigerator. So, hey, that is a win. So my savings from last week for the month, $75 plus another $65 is what, another $140. So I've saved about $140 for this month. So that is an extra bonus to this challenge. So I'm really thankful that I'm doing this challenge. Last week, I wasn't so thankful. This week I am, and I'm learning a lot, and I'm making notes of this, learning a lot about myself and kind of habits, and also some things to maybe help our garden be more effective for what we do in our home and what we consume in our home. So I hope that your week 3 is going well. If so, I would love to hear about it. Please comment below or follow me on Instagram and let me know if you are doing videos. I would love to also learn from you. This is a great community to learn from one another, some best practices, some encouragement, and accountability. So thank you for being that for me. And until next time, I will see you next video. Have a great day.